they want to produce a higher population level. So they're doing these things to incentivize like reproduction at a higher rate because it enables us to have more people, and more people means the cost of labor goes down, right? And so like there are all of these things that go into it, but I don't believe that there's the artifice of religion like authentically coupled nowadays with marriage. I think it's more about state building than it
I think
is
automation though is
about
kind of
preserving
superseding
religion.
that, right?
I mean, not yet, but
Labor
one
has,
day.
I mean, not yet. Historically, technology created more jobs than it eliminated, but I think we're at
Yeah,
a cusp where
but
that
look at
sort of is
like
flipping.
look at countries like Japan, and look at countries that have like larger stagnating.
Russia, yeah. Look at their immigration policies too, though. Like there's a lot to be said for like the Paul Ryans of the world are advocating for something that's more along the lines of like like an ethnically like what I mean, like biased future versus taking in immigrants. I think that's kind of like one of the major
I mean,
motivations.
America is not in any position to do that at all. Like, we're not an ethno state at all. I'm sorry. If they want
Oh,
an
yeah.
ethno state, they can go back to Western Europe.
Well,
Like,
but
seriously.
we have
No, they
a
could just go to, like,
sizable
Wyoming or
contingent of people in the United States who would
But
like
that's my
it to
point.
be
It's like, they want
an
an
ethno
ethno
state.
state. It's like, no, just then go back to Western Europe. Like, you don't belong in America then. You're not a colonialist anymore. Like, you're basically, you want to cry back to Britain and France and Netherlands. Like, come on.
I mean, I can't help but notice you have some level of anarcho like symbol for your icon. So
Oh,
like,
no, that was a meme for Prime, but okay.
okay, all right. No, I'm just saying like in a lot of these cases, like the way that we're approaching how these systems are set up, like we all have our own individual like ideologies. Like I'm married and like have a 5-month-old kid, but there are like two people in here that have said that they don't want to have families. Like the problem that we're seeing is, especially as like we're educated and don't have like we're smart enough to know that we don't want kids, right?
Well,
That means that our ability to nation build is like hindered, and that means that their ability to assert control over poor people is hindered. Like that's
I
where
mean, I would disagree. I think some people, again, it comes down to like who you are, right? If you want to have kids, you have kids. If you don't want to have kids, then don't have kids. It's not anyone's prerogative.
But
But
they
you
want
just
to
need to
the,
have
produce
the
something.
problem
Yeah.
is like when the country wants to have illegal immigration, where like we force people into slave labor, but then we don't want to give them a fair wage. We don't want to give them unions. We don't want them to actually have like basic human decency.
well, I
They
think
just
when you
want the
say
cheap labor. It's fucking
There's a
ridiculous.
I think
wider
when you say
picture
all of
here.
those things, it's not we, it's capitalists want those things. Like I'm in
Hell
favor of immigrants having like illegal or not having representation
I
in their
think
workplace.
capitalists would like immigration. I don't see an argument against
Well,
immigration.
I mean, but immigration
they
for
do.
cheap. Like, let's be honest here. Like, they don't want to have like Bolivia make capitalists pay their fair dollars to get lithium. They want the lithium on cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you think the petrodollar is a thing in this world?
We're
It's because
talking about immigration, right? Like people coming in.
yeah. So
Yeah, so
no, but that's what I'm trying to say here. So like, if you have rich people from the Gulf coming to America, they will spend tons of money, and the system here will overlook certain acts, and then they'll go back to the Gulf because whatever. And it's the same
wait.
thing with Latin
So
America.
why
It's like
wouldn't we
in Latin
want
America,
people? Why wouldn't
we
we
want to
want?
take the cheap labor
If
because
you're
it's
a
easy for us to
capitalist,
make money off of it.
why wouldn't you want immigrants to come here and naturalize as citizens?
Because the people who want to make the money don't see that as profitable. To them, that's not profit. That's actually the exact opposite.
I mean,
Yeah.
isn't a
Well,
lot of legal immigrants in this country business owners, and they're pretty successful? I'm
Yeah,
saying
like
legal immigrants.
there's absolutely zero argument that any immigration, illegal or otherwise, is a detriment to our economy.
Absolutely.
It's a benefit
Yeah,
at
absolutely
every
not at
level.
all. Yeah,
And
I
even
completely
illegal
agree.
immigrants pay taxes that they never get to claim back out of the system. You know what I mean? Like it's to the tune of like I think $9 or $10 billion a year. We profit off of just sales tax from illegal immigrants buying stuff here.
Well,
You know
and
what I mean?
even on top of that, there's a lot of like actual evidence out there that beyond just paying taxes and contributing in that way, like even illegal immigrants have a beneficial effect on the wider economy in their local areas. So like
They're consumers.
the presence of illegal workers tends to raise wages, tends
Raises
to do
wages.
it
Yeah,
tends
that's
to do
another.
a lot of really beneficial things. Largely the reason people talk about illegal immigrants is a fear-mongering scapegoat.
Yeah.
Well, no.
They're,
When I say
they're
illegal,
easily
I mean the
targeted.
thing is to prevent the government from giving them protections, right? Like this is the whole point of the person who wants to get illegal immigration into America is to prevent themselves from getting unions in their workplace so that
No, that doesn't follow.
they can exploit these people whatever amount, and they can't report back to the government that, hey, they're screwing me over
That
at the
doesn't follow.
workplace, they're
This
cutting
is
me short,
hard
all that
for me
other
to
stuff.
think.
Like,
So the amount of the much less the how would I that percentage of our working population of coming from illegal immigrants is going to somehow affect like unions in that regard, which isn't already going to occur from the workers we have in the United States. Like they're going to come here and they have this crazy amount of influence over pushing for union values that we our workers wouldn't already have in some degree.
Yeah. Like this, that's why it doesn't follow, right? Like you can't, like we can't just like try and mystically associate that these, like as somebody who lives in Texas, a very strong migrant community, like we don't have a problem with over unionization here, man. Like I fucking
Yeah,
wish, dude.
yeah,
Like
I wish I could. I wish I knew where a union was.
like and it
Indiana.
the cheaper, like you could argue that there are people that are rich enough that are inhibiting the modification of immigration laws to enable there to be like some second lower class of American, right? Or like some lower second class of like labor in our country. But like it's not fundamentally to just like inhibit it, right? Because those people, like this second class, like it's a, you could say it's a captive labor market maybe, because like they have, like if they're undocumented and their employer knows they're undocumented, right, they can have that kind of leverage over them, show up or else, right, they can say
Right.
like, and then you have to have like paperwork, so you have to have like either some fake social or some fake like ID or something like that. The vast majority of folks, one of the things that happened here in Texas is we had an issue with uninsured motorists. Our insurance actually went up for our cars because the number of uninsured motorists were an issue. And so we actually made laws to incarcerate those people and impound their cars whenever they're found to not have insurance. That also created a surcharge that went into effect in our state. So if you get busted driving without insurance, you now have to pay, $600 a year every year for 3 years, just to the state, just for that penalty for not having insurance that one time you were driving.
Wait, but no one sees as a problem. Like we could have easily made these people legal immigrants.
I
Oh
think we
no, it's a
all see
huge
it as a
problem.
problem.
But
It is a
you
problem.
like this is what I'm trying to say here is like we're literally punishing them for being illegal when they have no choice but to come here to find work. Like,
Yeah.
That's not. I don't agree with
Mm,
that statement either.
yeah,
But
they
okay,
have a
fine. I mean,
choice.
then you should be okay with the status quo as it is. Then
I
no, that doesn't follow.
That
I
doesn't
think
it
follow.
I
does
think that
because
we
like if we're
generally
not going
agree with
to
your
give
points,
these
Taz
illegal
Kid.
immigrants legal status,
It's just
work
your presentation
visas
of
or
them as
whatever,
being
not
very is very strange.
Yeah, yeah. Like
it's
for me, it seems like if you want to come to the United States and you want to spend money in the United States and work in the United States, that's fine. You can contribute to the United States. If you want to be a citizen in the United States, you're gonna have to go through some process. I'm for making that process easier. But like that's it. Like that's the most I can really agree with you on.
Well, I'm not really sure what the disagreement is beyond that. To
Well,
be 100% honest.
I don't know. Like, I don't know where you guys are getting the number that illegal immigrants are benefiting us just because they pay sales tax. Like, aren't they skimping out on other
Well, but
taxes?
they
No,
don't receive
It's-
social services.
if they
Yeah,
get
but they
paid-
still
Yeah, well,
they
they don't
Actually,
pay for
that's
mileage.
dependent on the
Okay,
state.
Well, yeah, depending on the
they use
state.
the roads, they use all this other shit.
yeah, but if they
the
get
sales
paid
taxes,
above the table, then they're getting like Social Security and stuff withheld out of their paycheck. And a lot of times, even if they aren't getting paid above the table, they're getting scammed out of that deal. And like that's not necessarily their fault either. But like the ultimately
It's
they're
kinda-
contributing to the GDP of our country. You know what I mean? And like and getting none of the benefits that come with it, none of the protections, none of the don't get to vote, they don't get to have equal representation under the law, they don't get to what I mean? Like any of the
Well, they came here legally.
but like
They came there illegally because we forced their countries to be so deprived.
We
lot of-
didn't do that. No, that's not on us.
there's a lot
Oh
of
yeah, sure.
exactly
Those drug wars, those South American
That's not just the US,
interventions, that has nothing to do with us. That's
Like,
great.
I mean, they if they weren't making the drugs, doing I
Te-
don't know. I mean, come
This
on,
is
you
more
can't-
complex
on.
than
So,
that,
like,
Taz.
yeah,
So,
this
like,
is the problem that I have with
does Texas and do our southern states have to carry the majority of that burden then? How come it's not distributed throughout all of the states if it's our entire nation that caused that problem?
Yeah, like literally one of the things that I'm helping manage a Senate campaign right now, and one of our arguments is like it's bullshit that Texans have to bear the brunt of like immigration costs. Like our cities and our state or city resources are being taxed at a higher rate because they're being asked to step in where ICE isn't able to do this kind of stuff anymore.
Well, you guys are also taking the brunt of the drug war along the border because
That's not so much a deal. Like
ICE is-
no, dude, I know a couple law enforcement that work for the drug task force. They've quite literally found hundreds of tunnels in freaking Texas cities, like say
Yeah, it's still
on
a
the
big
other,
deal.
but like the amount of like drugs, money, weapons that are transported through those tunnels is crazy.
yeah, I mean, but like
And Texas taxpayers are having to pay for that law enforcement and everything. I mean, I've like the drug money that they seize, I kind of feel should technically like usually it gets locked up until like court happens. I think law enforcement when they seize drug money, it should automatically go into their funding to help
Oof.
subsidize.
No. Civil forfeiture is like incredibly abhorrent. Like if you want to see crazy stuff, like so what states do now is like civil forfeiture is this notion that the state can seize some part of your property, and then you have like you actually have to sue the state because the crime is not committed by you. The crime is committed by the items.
An item does not
And
have rights.
exactly. So like it is completely terrible to suggest
It's
that
crazy.
because like in Oklahoma, like there's a toll road in Oklahoma that you have to pay in cash, right? And at the same time, a cop in Oklahoma, if they believe that the money that you have on you was used in the commission of a crime, they can just seize any cash you have on you.
I think the police seize more assets now than actual criminals.
So
Yeah.
so just as a like someone brought up like a question
Legalized
about
theft.
like undocumented immigrants and like their benefits in the wider community. I just found a study using Texas as a case study and information garnered from Texas over like the last decade, and they found that undocumented migrants generated about $424 million in like growth in the state, and that's taking into account any of the other expenses incurred by this. So like I think it's pretty
Yeah, more people is more money, right?
yeah. And I'll drop that link in the politics channel, by the
Goods
way.
and services, baby, we make it.
I think the
But
important
like,
thing
are we
here is,
all in
though-
agreement? We need to have these people given legal status because this is
Whoa,
like
whoa,
ridiculous
Like,
to
there's-
not give them legal status.
wait.
not,
I disagree.
Like, not citizenship.
Okay,
I'm
all
not
right.
saying
Yeah.
citizenship. I'm saying
Okay.
legal status. Like,
All right, just be like a
disagree.
legal
There's no way
resident
we can
alien.
You're
deport all
ta-
of them. Yeah, you
Taz,
cannot
you're
deport all of them.
Taz, you're
There's
basically
no way.
talking about like say a work visa.
Well,
Yeah.
I would like to see a system whereby
Permanent
they can
residency.
come forward and say, "Hey, I've been undocumented, but I would like to become a permanent resident,"
Yeah,
and they're not
that's fine.
like demonized
move
for
into the
that or put
process
into a
of-
concentration camp.
Yeah, then they can move into the process of becoming a citizen from
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
Or
like,
they're
Oh yeah,
like-
I'm also one person who knows what H-2A is.
No.
Okay, that is the foreign worker agricultural bill. As of right now, there is actually a Democrat, and this is one of the Democratic bills I'm actually for. He wants to add like sheep herding and dairy farms into that bill to allow people to get work visas to come to the U.S. and do those jobs. But the whole thing is, and I've watched documentaries about this. You have upstate New York where ICE is heavily active, and you got people constantly being deported. This dude actually went outside, asked several hundred people who were going to the unemployment office, "Hey, I know a job to pay between $9 to $10 an hour. They put a roof over your head. You don't pay for utilities or anything. All you have to do is buy food, and you have your own little refrigerator in your room." And then they're like, "Well, hey, that sounds really good." And then the person tells them the job, and they're like, "Hell no," because the dairy farming is really one of those dirty.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah,
Well-
sure. Same with like meat packing and like.
But do you not feel that a part of the agricultural bill should include sheep herding and dairy
Sure.
farming?
I mean, I don't know.
Sure. I could work with that. I mean,
Because a lot of Americans won't take that job because when my mom remarried,
This is
My
like a master
step-
slave relationship. Then, like you're saying, put it on Americans don't take it, so put it on these other people and make.
no,
them,
if
like,
people aren't
subservient
going to
people
take
that do
it, let people who are willing to do the job take it.
and just assuming they'd be willing to do it because they're fleeing their country for reasons like that. Taz was
Well,
bringing
no,
up.
because there's multiple reasons why they would come to the U.S. Maybe they want to send money home to benefit their family in whatever country they're from, or they want to become a U.S. citizen. Would that not be considered a path to becoming a U.S. citizen? Is by getting a work visa, working here, and then going, "Hey, I've been in this country."
What kind of skill are you? So you're making them learn this skill. That how's that going to benefit the state in 20 years? Like, what kind of tax revenue are they going to bring in from this individual learning this trait or learning this skill? It'd be
Because when
better
you're coming
if
on a
it's
work
somewhere
visa,
else.
you do pay state and federal tax, and you do file taxes.
Yeah, but it's like they're learning how to do what? Like what is it? Packaged milk or something you were saying? And then,
No, they're providing farmhand service, which is part of agricultural. They're providing a service, and they could become a U.S. citizen. Like, you don't realize how much money a lot of people who work agricultural or farms can make.
wait,
Yeah,
can
but
you
I
like
think-
explain what happens in farms for like in the dairy sector?
Yeah, I
and
think
et cetera?
before we grant the permanent residency or whatever you guys were talking about, the borders need to be secure before then, so that you.
I mean,
prevent
they're
the
pretty
influx.
secure.
Yeah,
They're okay,
Mm.
but I think they need to be more secure right now.
you should look at
before
the
you do
total.
that.
But
You
like,
should look at like legal and illegal immigration over the last decade. They've gone down by massive rates. Obama's efforts, like straight up, like nuked all of the illegal immigration rates across the country.
I also,
Yeah,
I
'cause
also,
people-
I don't think illegal or legal immigration would be a big problem if there weren't massive downsides to coming forward and being like, hey, I would like to be a permanent resident after you're already here.
Yeah.
I just don't. I don't think it's actually
You
that
You
big
don't
of an
think that
issue.
Hey,
more
Because
people
like
would come?
right, like guys, literally in 2016, we had an illegal immigrant in the United States try and assassinate Donald Trump. Except nobody talks about it anymore because he was white and British. Like,
Damn
Exactly.
British bastard.
You just answered the question.
Like, but
the
like the-
American
I think
bias.
it's because it was Donald Trump.
Yeah.
dude.
but the issue is he flew here and he was white and he wasn't a scary brown person. So
So
like,
clearly, that
I
white
don't
British
think that's
guy would
relevant.
love to work on a farm, right, to get his citizenship, because all immigrants look
Well,
the same.
but
and
like
they're
so,
all-
but like that's the other thing. Like we feel, or we talk about like the security of the borders or whatever. But like a lot of the people who are illegal immigrants in this country, like they flew here and just
Yeah,
overstayed
they
their
overstayed a
visas.
visa.
Well,
Yeah.
so
So like
security.
border
I'm
security
gonna
doesn't
call
really
down
mean
on
that
that.
same.
I'm gonna call down on that.
So I don't believe in the whole border security thing. It's like if
With-
you want to
I
fix your
believe in
border,
border security. Are you kidding me?
no,
What?
no, no. Here's the if you want to fix your border, then work with what I'm talking about. Let's give people who came here undocumented because they had no choice to legal
They didn't-
status, not citizenship, legal status because they were working here. Okay, and then with that, my side being taken care of. Okay, let's build some kind of border security that's not just some concrete wall, but like an actual like environmentally friendly system where we don't have to worry about, oh, you know, we're destroying someone's property that's between Mexico and America, or we're
So
destroying the environment in
Okay, nobody
between those
has their
countries.
shit built on the border between America and Mexico, and if they do,
Well,
they gotta get their shit
they
checked.
do actually.
They're very
Okay,
few.
they
Very
got they,
few.
they they gotta get the fuck out.
Well, it's an
'Cause
imaginary line.
choose
Like
a side.
a lot of
Hold on,
people didn't
hold on.
Who's
know where
aside?
the border
Excuse
was.
me, you. This is literally nature's area. They based it on a river, and the river has changed since then. Like,
Okay, so let me clarify. Like immigration, border security, that's not my main concern for border security. My main like concern for border security is to stop drug trafficking, weapons trafficking,
Human trafficking.
human trafficking. That is my main concerns
Okay, you know what?
for it.
Know what we can do that would actually stop that a lot
you
more
say
than any of your other
decriminalize
programs?
drugs,
Yeah.
I'll get so upset.
We need to decriminalize drugs in the United
Yeah,
States.
it's-
okay.
Because the
the
large
Drug
drugs.
Substance
Okay,
Act, the Federal Drug
I-
Substance Act, drop it to level 4 and 5, and you're good.
Go back to the immigration because like we're gonna circle jerk on
Well,
no
No, because like
Yeah,
one
no,
of the
there's
things
no
we
way
can
to
do,
argue
we
with
can't
this.
do is just the other side, whoever is the Republican Party, they don't want to negotiate. They just want to say, "Oh, build a wall," and that's it. It's like,
Taz,
no.
Well,
like,
yeah,
I
if you build a
appreciate
wall, that's the first step.
Main
I
re-
think
their
the
main-
first step is stopping the problem of immigration. You guys are talking about like,
You
oh, we
can't
have all
stop
these
immigration if you have a society that's exploiting cheap labor. It doesn't make sense. You're
Okay,
not going
okay.
to force Americans to take these jobs. So
This
give the
is
people who are undocumented legal status to work here.
Oh,
Okay.
hold on. No, I can actually give an example about what Taz is talking about. You can actually look them up. They're called Wabash. They are here. They are in Lafayette, Indiana. They build semi trailers. A couple years ago, they got nailed for 75% of their workforce being undocumented immigrants. ICE came in, basically arrested all the illegal immigrants. The whole thing is the penalty for these companies is usually about $10,000 per illegal immigrant. The contracts that this company signs to make semi trailers is in the billions of dollars. You got to think about it. If they're able to pay these undocumented immigrants a lot less money than, say, the people who are documented or are citizens, because most of the citizens that work there were making anywhere between $15 to $30 an hour. Now you could have an immigrant come in and pay them like $5, $6 an hour. They're like, okay, you're giving me a chance. I'm undocumented. You're taking the risk. But the whole thing is, Wabash doesn't give a shit about that fucking those fines. They got paid because I just stated
the
their
penalty.
their contracts that only take 2 years to fulfill are netting them billions of dollars.
Yeah, and so like like I want to say two things, and I'll talk directly to what Tiger's saying. Businesses do a cost benefit analysis. Something similar happened here in North Texas. The largest ICE raid in American history happened. They hit a building and arrested like 300 or 400 people working in it, and they were all doing IT scrapping and stuff like that. The business owners got to keep running. They got to go home at night while all of their employees got deported. Like they went on bus to ICE camps, right? And then secondly, Taz, like I take issue with the way that you come to a lot of your conclusions and the way that you so ardently press them, because it honestly feels like you're playing hopscotch. Like you're like, I'm going to throw the like thing, and then I'm going to jump to the numbers in the specific order to get there, but you're not hitting the numbers in between. You're just like running directly over and picking up your jack or whatever the hell it's called. Like it's not. You got to be better about how you're putting these arguments out there, because like I'll agree with your end statement and I'll kind of understand your premise, but the way that you're getting there is just so difficult to navigate through.
I mean, okay, so if there's an opposition that says, "Hey, we want to build a wall," I'll be like, "Okay, let's have border security like funded, well funded, right? and let's make sure that we know what properties are what, because we have American citizens and Mexican citizens who have properties in America and in Mexico between the border, and we well fund that. In the same time, we make sure we give legal status for the people who are undocumented here to find work here. Like,
Fuck.
what's the problem with this?
For me, I don't know.
Because
My thing about the wall is like, all right, first things first, we do the decriminalize thing. We see how well that works.
And
And then-
just as a note, if anyone's interested in like decriminalizing drugs and the effect that that can have, please look into Portugal, because Portugal has had decriminalized drugs since 2001, saw no uptick in increased drug use, and largely it's been totally fine. And it turns out criminal law enforcement doesn't really deter that many people
Shouldn't
from
be a
using
criminal
drugs.
issue.
Hey,
Should be a
hey,
medical
I,
issue.
I'm
Does Portugal
for.
have socialized medicine? So like,
Oh yeah,
like,
that as well. I'm totally for
Well,
social.
hold on, I'm for like certain drugs being like decriminalized. Hey, but I'm also the wackadoo conservative slash centrist that believes prostitution should be legal and
Oh yeah,
taxed.
absolutely. But
It
like
is, right?
the
Some
issue
states.
is if we make it legal, then that basically allows legal means for drugs to be sold here, and that in turn another avenue of tax revenue, and on top of that,
Same with prostitution.
exactly,
Okay,
and it basically ends the whole point
Black
of
market.
point of
Hey,
shipping drugs up here illegally.
I look at it this way. I look at it this way.
Isn't that a good thing if we
I don't know too.
lower the level for the drugs?
Yeah.
It's gonna lower it, but at the same time, it's like our country isn't going to heavily decriminalize like fentanyl or something like that.
Oh no, I'm not saying fentanyl. I'm saying, okay, so obviously we have
It's like
doctors
the
and
DEA's
scientists.
biggest issue, isn't it? Like this is
How about meth? I
mean,
mean, that's a big.
I-
That's a good.
Listen,
thing.
I would
We
trust the
we
scientists
export a lot of
to
meth.
categorize which drugs should be lowered to level
Well,
not 1 and 2, but
The
5
point-
and 4. So
Them, then there'll be less demand for them. Is that's the point legal?
and the other
Yeah,
thing,
I'm fine with decriminalization of certain drugs, but it's like it's unrealistic to think that our United States government would heavily decriminalize something like fentanyl.
Meth,
Oh,
heroin,
well, yeah,
stuff like that.
No,
but
hold a
like,
minute.
here's where can I get my point in, please?
yeah.
Okay. My point is that largely, while it might be unrealistic, I think it's something that we should push towards, largely because if we do decriminalize it, we have a bunch of these benefits like taxation and whatever, but also we can treat people who get addicted to these drugs and have drug problems more like medical patients rather than like criminals, which
It's a
is
medical
what we
problem,
currently do.
not a criminal problem.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like, I would agree.
So we
It
can
deals
help
with
more
the
people
problem.
this way too.
I would agree, but it's like when we're looking at these things, it's kind of like this is one of these things is like is a major problem right now. So like looking at rehab as a solution is more of like a long term, like you have a period of time, people get the time to have these patients, work with them,
Mhm.
have some developed strategy, whereas fentanyl is like a crisis right now. Something like marijuana, I don't know, like LSD, shrooms, what have you. These substances, yeah, they could be decriminalized, whatever. But like, even for some other drugs, but like specific things like fentanyl, like I think they would still be something that like, if cartels have some influence and they're bringing into the country, that wouldn't really stop. Just
So I have a genuine question because I don't know a whole lot about fentanyl. Is fentanyl like something that someone goes to if they have ready access to drugs?
fentanyl is extremely powerful. So like,
But do you like start out with something else first?
It's
I would
normally
imagine, yeah,
laced into
maybe,
other
but it doesn't
drugs.
have to be that way.
Like some people think they'll be buying like coke or
No,
you know,
like
heroin,
to,
but they'll end up getting fentanyl.
to put it briefly, like no, in that sense, like I see what you're saying. Like
Yeah.
if you go to a hospital, you may get like oxy or hydro or what have you,
Mhm.
and then you'll work your way to like some street drug like heroin, which
Yeah.
is not something you'd get in like a store. No, fentanyl is something like you could get
Doesn't most of it come from China, Wiggle?
It is like
Most of it comes from China, right?
I'm not too sure
I
about
believe
that.
so.
You would know more.
It's an
than-
American.
I just
It's
know
an
something
American
that
drug. That's
it is a
Yeah.
product, and that we will we will prescribe it to people with certain pains like neuropathy or what have you.
and it's an opioid alternative that they use because it's supposed to have easier come downs than a lot of the other like heroin and other like super opioids.
Very big problem in Canada as
But
well.
that's beyond my point. Like I didn't want to get stuck on the
Yeah.
drug stuff. I was just saying that decriminalization will help. It won't eliminate.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I see that as a first step to see
Mhm.
how does that affect our relationship with the on the Mexican border.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, like we have to incentivize people to become like to want to become legal residents in some way. We're assuming that they'd want to, but if things like Tigar is talking about or other individuals are talking about, if the jobs they're getting are tied to the fact that that they can be paid illegal wages or something like that doesn't have to be on the books, we have to find a way to incentivize them to want to be legal residents.
Well,
And then beyond that, the major problem was the crime, right?
That's why I have an issue with it being largely like visa based or like legal residency. 2-tier systems do not work. Like this is bad. The second tier gets fucked. Like period. And then it's like I don't know. That's like saying like only landowners should be able to vote or whatever. Like no.
No, it's not the same because like we're already forcing. Okay, our foreign policy in South America is already interventionist. We already are trying to like overthrow, like let's say in Bolivia or in Venezuela. We have a problem with Cuba. Like we're not going to get out of their backyard. So if since that's never going to happen, we might as well allow these people who are coming here to find work because they can't find work at their own
That's
country.
not the way that works. Like it's
yeah,
just
I don't think so.
Like
Like-
I'm assuming that our foreign policy is just fucked, and we just have to work with.
you really should read more about how we
Kaz,
actually
you are right
work.
in Central America, but not so much in South.
Yeah, like we've messed around a lot in Central America and we've destabilized their governments, but at the same time, like, I mean, we haven't done anything like that ridiculous in Central and South America in a long time. The closest thing that we've done is like what happened in where was Tesla trying to buy all of that
Bolivia.
lithium from? Yeah, like Bolivia is like one of the closest things we've kind of done like recently in terms of like trying to like back a 1 liter over another liter. But like we don't there's
Venezuela,
no
we didn't like want to side with the parliament there. Like, come on, man. We even sent like a poorly funded militia to fight in our behalf without it being official.
What does that
Wait,
have to do with Mexico?
are you talking about Venezuela?
Yeah, like it was so.
That's because there's that's
We
because there's a
can't do this. We
bounty
can't
on the
do this.
freaking leader's
We
head.
can't do this. We can't do this, guys. Like Taz, I know you have a lot to speak, but we've gone from like marriage to like the immigration, and now we're going to our actions. Like,
I mean, no, because okay,
you scheming, you changing
no,
our.
You guys were not tackling what I was asking about. That's why.
Taz, the whole thing is the reason that militia, and they had nothing to do with the U.S. at all. They were former either military or refugees from Venezuela, and the reason they were poorly funded is because this freaking dipshit. Oh, I'm a Green Beret. I know how to do all this stuff. What ended up happening? The reason they went after that person is because there's a bounty on the leader's head.
Yeah.
Our intelligence said, "Hey, this is a good idea.
No,
let's just let them
trust whatever." U.S. intelligence never said that.
This is how brilliant our Pentagon is. Like, don't worry about
U.S.
it.
intelligence never said that.
Yeah,
I'm very off. I know.
No, Taz, like this, you're playing hopscotch, but you're playing like whatever like the Jax thing is. Like you're straight up like making a point, declaring it, and then jumping to whatever thing you can to try and like link it together, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, there was no Pentagon or U.S. intelligence saying it was a good idea. These people acted independently of their own volition, and they failed at it because they didn't have enough men. And the reason they were doing it is because I think there's like a $60 million bounty on the leader of Venezuela's head that these people wanted to collect.
Yeah, like I don't agree with all of America's foreign policy, but the things that you're saying are just like not based in any sort of reality that we live in. Like,
yeah, I don't think any
sure,
of us
sure, it's not real. I get it. But like at the end of the day, we have to do something about how we exploit labor that are foreigners. and we can't keep just throwing
I'll
fees
agree with
on
that, but
companies.
I'll agree
It's
with
not
that. But
working.
I'll agree with that. But one of the biggest problems is A, there's not enough of a disincentive for employers not to hire low cost illegal labor, right?
You'd have to make the penalty even greater for them
Exactly.
hiring illegal immigrants, but the whole thing is you'd have lobbyists fighting against it, just like you have lobbyists fighting against
Prison reform.
well no, the right to repair.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Right to
I'm
repair?
pretty sure
Man, that's some bullshit.
I'm pretty sure anybody here that owns like Apple product or anything should know about the right to repair or John Deere tractors. Basically, right to repair allows people to take their product to a third party person to have it repaired rather than say having to drive your tractor to John Deere and John Deere tell you, oh well yeah, we'll get to it a week.
Has ever
Or
passed a law on that?
it's depending on
Never.
it's dependent on each state. I think there's only currently 13 states that actually have the right to repair law in act.
I think it was the beginning in France because they were like some shit about
Yeah,
it.
that was after it was found out that Apple had built in planned obsolescence,
Yep.
and then they got smashed in France, and then they had to change the way that their stuff worked.
Yeah,
But-
and here in the U.S., Apple has been scrutinized several times.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize.
Apple's been scrutinized several times because people would take their iPhone to get the home button repaired if it broke, and Apple had found this out, so Apple ended up putting it in their system that if it's not that authentic.
Stoke, what are you doing, bud?
Chopping potatoes.
I literally thought I just muted my
Oh,
mic.
great.
I'm sorry.
You doing it
I-
for you.
like the only
said
reason I
some
went
shit.
back at
He's an
it.
illegal immigrant.
The
He's
only
chopping up
reason I
them
went back
chicken.
at it is because I thought I muted my mic. I'm sorry.
had-
I'm
If you had
muting it
cheaper
for real this time.
potatoes and a cheaper labor
No,
to chop
dude.
your potatoes, it'd be so much better.
But
We could just
any-
have a second class of like house slaves, right? Like,
But
I should have
anyway,
hired Padre to do it. He works silently.
But anyways, what it was is Apple was disabling people's phones who they took the third party repair people who were replacing the home button, and the phone was quite literally being disabled, which means these people had to take it to Apple, pay Apple has always been one of those companies that, hey, I need my iPhone fixed. Well, we just came out with a new one. This is going to cost you $1,500 to get repaired. And it's like, what the fuck? That's new.
I
That's
think
like the
refrigerator
cost.
companies are the same way. You probably deal with that
Yeah.
a lot. Just follow
Yes.
it.
Okay.
They just fucking
You want to
break.
know something about refrigerators, man?
Set amount of time, boom, it's broken.
They used
Finally,
they're
the
engineered to
refrigerator
fail.
discourse.
Engineered to fail. Okay.
Wait, so are we
That-
in agreement at least on the not foreign policy, the
we're in
immigration
agreement
situation? Like,
we
if
need
I'm
to
going
do
to build,
something.
if we're going to
Yes,
have border
the
security,
bullshit
we've got to
exam.
give these undocumented people some kind of status that's
Can I offer
workable under the law.
a-
I
a
was
possible
really
solution?
about to go off on the refrigerator thing.
Like,
It's fucking
like,
bullshit, dude.
So my proposed solution is we have a period of time in which you just give blanket, okay, you get permanent resident status, and as a permanent resident you get like a bunch of different rights, and you can't be discriminated against when it comes to wages. And true, lobbyists would 100% try and stop that sort of a policy from happening, but I don't think that's a reason for us not to try to do that. And after
What do you
that,
about it?
and then
You mean the greater penalty for companies that hire illegals?
yeah, or no, or like trying to stop like a legislative effort to allow there to be a path for illegals to become these
As long
permanent
as you're,
residents.
I think it's like as long as you're like documented or there's some like or you're legal in some way, the president doesn't have to. There doesn't have to be any law. Like it's within the president's power to change the status of like anyone in that position, and allow certain people from certain countries to enter or like what have you. Like that's what Donald Trump did when with the China ban and with the quote unquote Muslim bans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and so like we have a period of time where people who are already here can come forward and no repercussions, they just become permanent residents. And then after that, we have a much more streamlined system where people like the process for asylum right now. The process for asylum, super simple. You are physically present in the U.S., and then you have a year to go declare yourself. That's the process for asylum, by the way. In case you guys didn't know that, that's the legal process for it. We should have something similar.
They're
but
actually
for-
changing that.
I'm
Like,
sure
so
they are.
one of the things that Trump did with ICE is that when you come in and you try and apply for asylum, technically he made it illegal for you to enter the country illegally.
Right.
So you have to apply for asylum by approaching the border and doing it at the border location. And their thing right now is that they're actually just sending people back into the country from which they arrived, right?
Mhm.
And then they have to wait a set amount of time whenever that immigration hearing is able to be heard and their asylum decision is able to be like decided upon.
Right.
So like,
Well,
yeah, I
so
don't know.
I get what you're saying, but I think of a much more streamlined and simplified program where you just like go declare yourself within a set period of time of getting here. I think that would work just fine for having this. There's no reason to have to go through all these hoops and barriers and stuff like that.
I know how to speed it up.
Uh-huh.
Hire more immigration judges.
I mean,
I just
definitely
You
that as
think
well.
No,
Trump
no,
will do that?
that's the whole thing. There's the number of like quite literally, it is said that each judge has about 45. Every immigration judge usually has like a minute, 45 seconds to a minute and a half to determine hear this person's case and then make a decision because they are that backlogged.
Yeah. This fuck.
I like, I don't know. Okay, so like I'm totally like, anybody who's here right now, we probably work around them. It's in our best interest. They're already here. You know, they're probably already working.
Vet them and then give
I-
them like
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone here, yeah, if they follow the, whatever, we gotta work with that. We gotta work with the people who are here. But I don't see why people are so against actually putting up, like, actually securing our border.
Because
Because
secure
it's-
the border.
it's
You
No,
gotta
because
diminishing
secure the border
returns.
first,
so
and
let,
then
let
you
me
can.
let me explain to you how Congress works. So the Senate
Okay,
Republicans
no,
and
I
the
don't
Senate
wanna hear
and the
this.
House,
I don't-
House Republicans,
Guys,
what they'll do is
I don't-
they'll say,
I don't
"Hey,
know that I
we
can
want
take
the
Taz
border to be
Kid
paid
Noah.
off,
I don't know that I can handle this. Okay,
whatever
guys?
that's not
amount,
a bad
right?"
thing.
And then when the Democrats make a proposal,
it
all of a
really
sudden it's like, "No, we
makes
just
my
want the
brain hurt,
border.
okay?
What you want, we don't care." So we need to have
I
a
love
middle
the
ground, right?
sentiments.
No,
Have
Or
like,
are we just
good
supposed to just go with the
validity,
Republican
fucking
plan?
but
border, and then
the
so like the people who are
presentation of
already
these
here,
arguments is
whatever,
making
man,
me
you're here, but
die
like,
inside.
okay, you guys are all talking about solutions to the problem of like the existing immigrants, and I'm all with that, dude.
Mhm.
But then why not stop the inflow of new immigrants?
Okay,
which
so
are
let's take your
illegal
bill
immigrants.
and let's take my bill and let's mix it
I'm
together.
not suggesting a bill. I'm just
No.
saying, like, why
Okay,
the fuck
okay.
is the
You see,
border?
this is the problem here. You guys want us to pass your side, but then all of a sudden, when it comes to us needing to get
Why are you assuming that he's on the other side of you?
Yeah.
like no, but this is the problem. If you don't understand how Congress works, this is what they do.
If you
They
don't agree
negotiate
with me, you just
policies
obviously
to
don't
share.
understand anything at all.
Okay,
Okay?
fine. I
If you
don't
don't
understand
agree,
anything.
Hey,
at all.
hey, everybody calm down. Hey, everybody calm down. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hit you in the head with a ball peen hammer.
Yeah, like
it may be an improvement for some
I
of us.
my disagreement with the building of the wall, man, is that like I want it to be before we put something like that up that has to be maintained, especially in this country. I would say that I want it to be as cost beneficial as possible.
That's the problem. Exactly what
Well-
Wiggle said. It's the law of diminishing returns. Attempting to secure the border further is going to be exponentially more to get diminishing levels of return. We're at that level already where it's so low it doesn't really functionally make sense to invest additionally. Instead, it would make more sense to find ways to fix the problems that exist domestically and then address the fact that immigration is like essentially archaic and glacially moving for the vast majority of people that are trying to come here.
And
Those are the problems that have high return on a low level of investment.
I
And-
agree.
no,
I
you-
agree
you're-
with all of
you're
that. By the
definitely-
way, the
Yeah,
issue the issue is that like the fear of immigrants is largely overblown. Like they're sending rapists and murderers, etc. here, and I get the impulse to say like, well, we want to know who's coming here, and that's true. But I largely think that this idea that we need a 400-mile long wall to prevent people from crossing the desert. If people, like, guys, like the
fuck that. You use
9/11
satellites and shit.
the
Use
9/11
satellites, whatever.
terrorists were funded by Saudi Arabia, and they flew to the United States to train. And like, if people mean us harm, having a 400-mile wall isn't gonna do shit to stop them. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, um, the efficacy of even having like those approved checkpoints that people have to go through is highly in contention. And I say that because, like, for example, TSA is a huge waste of money. TSA fails like
You mean
98.
TSA?
Yeah, TSA fails
Oh, I thought you
98.
said T. I thought you said
Oh.
TSA.
97.6% of all their tests of
Yeah.
improvised bombs. Yes.
Yeah, they
Oh yeah, no, no,
they
fuck,
fail.
fuck that shit.
They fail.
That
But,
is-
like that's it's the same. It's the same principle
Yeah.
applied at the
No,
border
it's not
crossing.
the same
It is.
principle.
Yes,
It is.
People are
It's
coming-
literally the
performative.
same.
It's performative.
Okay, no, because
TS
we're talking about legal
no.
immigration here.
96%
I mean, like,
failure
well-
rate, and you guys want socialized medicine?
Well, the
I
issue,
don't
the
know.
issue is
Okay, I want to
TSA
say
is
something
largely
about-
there to make you feel better.
Yeah.
okay,
security
I don't care about
blanket.
flying. This
It's
is totally
security
you just made it like
theater.
a total different equivalency between the Mexican border
Well,
and flying.
how is crossing the Mexican border different than like crossing a
Okay,
TSA
so most of these
checkpoint?
people they don't come through just by driving in. They have these smugglers. Okay,
Well,
Incorrect.
but like
smugglers will
30,
take large.
30
Coyotes.
but
They don't
again,
take
like
large,
30
but
to
they'll take-
50% of the
okay,
undocumented
let me
immigrants in
talk.
this country are
Let me talk.
from
What?
planes.
No,
Their visa extent.
Yeah,
They're people that overstay their
let him
visas.
finish.
Yeah.
Let him finish. He doesn't talk a lot.
Okay, so these smugglers. This is from border security people. This is how they. This is what they do. They track down these smugglers. They're taking these back roads, trails, or whatever. They're just walking through. What'll happen is they have smugglers leading them. It's like groups of illegal immigrants, and they'll come through. But I mean, these smugglers, like, they're most time they're taking over drugs with these people, and they're not treating these people well. If someone doesn't keep up with the group, well, that's tough shit. All they care about is getting their shit over the border, getting their cash, and then coming back. They have smugglers that run these trains back and forth, back and forth. It's not like these people are coming over alone. It's part of it's part of the cartel. I mean, like,
So
it's all.
okay,
mean-
but that's if you look at this actual statistics of where the vast majority of migration, undocumented migrants come from, it's from people overstaying visas. It's not from people being ferried by coyotes. It's not by folks like taking secret underwall tunnels. Like, these are people that are flying here, that are coming here, getting visas, being told that they can stay here legally for a period of time, and then they just never go back home. That's where the vast majority of undocumented migrants come from in America at this point in time, since
I mean,
Obama left office, right? Like, he was the deporter in chief. Like, there's a reason that illegal immigration in the form of illegal border crossing is down, right? And that's where the problem is again, it's like we're seeing diminishing returns on investing in this kind of performative, like, security that's being done that doesn't actually address the problems that we're trying to address. Like, if we want to address crime rates, we got to fix the problems of people not being in secure areas. We need to increase quality of life, because if people have more to risk than what is actually worthwhile, then they're not going to want to go to jail to lose those better quality of life things, right? Like, those are the things that end up making larger impacts on the issues that you want to address. Not saying, hey, let's target some brown folks because they took a long walk. But on that note, I got to roll out. It's like
Okay. It's been nice
it
talking
wasn't
with you,
not
bad
Mess.
at all. It's like
Premise,
it's just.
I'm so sorry if we clash. It's just I feel like if I need to make a middle ground with someone, or else they'll keep expecting no, it's right or left. It's like
it's not
No,
right
I
or
thought-
left, but
Yeah,
it,
man,
like, what
I don't see that logic. Like,
It's your
we're not
presentation.
the
happens in
United.
Congress,
We're not.
so we have to
Yes,
make
but
concessions.
we here are not Congress. We here are just people.
Yeah,
So
you
you don't have
you
to
want to
treat us
advocate
like Congress.
you want to
Yeah, I-
advocate for the strongest version of your concept, so that then when it does go to Congress, you can make good arguments for it and hopefully get as much of it through as possible.
Yeah, because if I were conservative, I could have pulled apart the vast majority of what you said, like super duper easily, and even construed it to be in my benefit, right? And that's the thing about the way that we have to like frame these things. If we put them incorrectly, if we give them leeway with not well thought out arguments, we fundamentally cede ground that others will take because they are capable of it.
Yeah, I
Right.
think
Yeah,
he's totally with you on the majority of things. He just had an issue with the way you went about wording it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And coming to your conclusion.
I was being polite and not taking a hot shit on your takes.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just think like it's.
We get better with practice. We get better with practice.
Exactly.
I just don't want to like trick someone thinking I'm tricking them. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like make it very plain and simple for these.
You just don't want them to think that you're tricking
Hey,
Because
them.
Taz, I have a question for you. So,
Yeah.
is this the biggest issue that you see in politics right now? Is this like what you would
No, I
push your
mean,
vote
to be
on
quite
the
honest, I just rather see the country just burn itself into smithereens.
What?
So you're
See,
an
now
anarchist.
that's
That's an anarchist.
horrible.
Listen, no. I'm not an
Oh.
anarchist.
Well,
I
I'm-
just don't think our hegemony is necessary for this planet
What the
anymore.
No, if you
Okay,
want to
now I
see
see
the
why you
country
want open
burn,
borders.
that
all
is
makes sense now.
anarchist.
I'm
Now
I'm
it
I'm
makes-
for the rights
it
of
makes sense.
I'm for the rights of undocumented immigrants, but also I'd like to burn the country to the ground.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I mean,
anarchist.
that's part
No,
of burning
no,
the country to the
no,
ground, is
no,
letting you know.
Sorry,
What
Taz.
kind
I
of
just felt like I would
bullshit
ask.
is
I
that, man?
didn't
no,
mean
no.
like
You have to
everyone to shit
understand,
on
like,
you.
You
we
don't have to understand.
you
Saying
you have to
someone
understand, like,
falls
we
down
fucked up so much in the Middle East. We
so we
abandoned Puerto Rico.
so
We
kids
were
should die. So the people of the country are responsible for the actions of the government.
I mean, are we not a democracy?
Oh, so then you
I mean,
what
I don't
would you
believe
vote
in the
for
statement
in New
democracy,
Jersey?
but
So what
the
you
people
vote
who
for in New
do claim to
Jersey?
be this.
Hold on. No. I think Taz, you live in New Jersey. You've been hanging out with the Guidos too much.
Guidos, listen, I'm Bengali, I'm Desi, man.
Hey Taz, can I have to ask this because I'm a leftist and I feel a somewhat kinship to, possibly in the future after achieving market socialism, transitioning to an anarcho system of some kind, probably anarcho-communism. Um, do you have like a coherent ideology behind your anarchism, or are you just like burn it all
Okay,
down,
this
fuck everybody?
avatar, Wiggles can confess. I was given from an anarchist because like I didn't want to change my avatar, so he gave me this avatar so Prime would just let me in, and Prime kind of like let me in because it's not the default avatar, it's slightly modified. So
He's talking about another streamer and another stream, and
Yeah,
he's
but
saying that
I want to. I'm
he's
talking about your
not.
ideology.
no. So my ideology, I don't know. I mean, okay, so
He's not
I
anarch.
filed the I filed the TYT for a long time since 2011, 2012.
Okay.
So I would say I was progressive then. When Bernie Sanders was mentioned in the ethos, I started being more leftist. The more I was aware about my ethnic origins, the country Bangladesh, they started out as a socialist country. Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, their constitutions literally state socialism. So I mean, I agree with like leftism,
Mm-hmm.
but like I'm not like a staunch for specific ideology. I just want to make sure that we have some kind of footing of leftism in our society because
Why?
it's
Why? If
very
you
clear
think
that
if your goal is for us to just disappear off the face of the
well,
planet,
no. So that disappear thing is based on like the shit that's going on right now. But like, ideally, like if let's say we don't need to burn into smithereens, like let's work with what we have with the issues we
why
have,
would
right?
you even believe that for an instant? Why
Yeah,
would
do you
you?
think
You were saying you were putting the positions of our government and what we might have done in specific regions of the world on the populace,
Hold
on
on, did you
people,
mean
on
burn?
children who can't even vote.
Did you
People
mean
who are
burn down the
underage.
government?
Our adults here keep claiming
Hey,
that
Taz,
we're
did you
we're a
mean burn
democracy,
down the
so
government?
they should be responsible for the shit. They're responsible for the shit that happens.
Yeah.
Hold on,
So
Taz.
how
Did
do
you
you
mean? Can
how
I
do you
hold
take?
on,
Yes.
Taz? Did you mean the government or did you mean the people of the country to burn down?
if people are saying, "Hey, we're a democracy, we have full control," blah blah blah, in their logic, right? I would say this is what I would be responding to, right? Honestly, I think we need to reform the federal government. We need to fix how the roles are between the feds and the states.
Okay.
And like for example, immigration. I don't see immigration for me as a specific key thing, but I see it as a problem that's going to keep keep popping up because either the right wing will use it as a means to like have us diminish other goals that we want. And so I don't want like anti-immigration bills to be slipped in with other
But
bills. You
what
know what I
does it
mean?
have
Okay,
to do with
so
the statement that you made?
here I would like to maybe interject here real quick. Taz, I think that you mean well on a lot of different issues. I think what would really help you, though, is if you dug into different political philosophies and figured out what kind of a world you would like to live in, what kind of a world you'd like to build, because right now you have a lot of these, like, burn down the state, while also,
Well, no, I'm not gonna. I'm not saying burn down the state. Okay,
well,
that's just
yeah,
me stressing out because if
I thought you were
But you
Antifa for a
justified
second.
it.
I mean,
You
I thought
didn't
the
take it
no,
flag
back.
because like
the flag totally makes sense
it was
now.
coming from the foreign policy situation. Like if we're not gonna fix our foreign policy, then we might as well like
You were
make
putting
sure
it
that the
on
people
the
who are already
citizens.
in America, right,
well,
they get some kind of legal status that is like
You
okay, they can get.
were you were putting it on the citizens and saying because we're part of a democracy, but there's steps
Yeah,
that we
because
take part
the
in order
citizens,
to
the average citizens thinks, oh, we're a democracy. So based on
yes.
that logic, right?
What do you
Obviously,
do
I
to
know
take
we are a
part in the
republic, but
democracy? You vote,
yeah,
and
we
you have
all
to
vote.
be
Once, yeah,
you have to
We're
be
once
all
every
18.
4
responsible
years.
for our
You
politicians.
have to be 18 to vote. So what
Yes.
about the people that are not 18 or younger, and you're saying they're responsible for the actions of the government because they live here? They should also be wiped off, or their government should just be removed, or whatever the egregious stuff that you were saying before.
No, because I was referring to. Oh my gosh! Like this is the problem. Like, you guys are trying to separate two things that are not. Okay.
well,
Um.
this is why I'm just saying, if you nail down your political philosophy,
Well,
people
no,
can
I don't have a
understand you.
political philosophy.
Right,
I just
that's the
agree that.
but
I mean,
that's the
everyone has
problem.
some
You
sort of
you
political
have a
philosophy.
political philosophy, you're just not able to articulate it, and that's what's screwing all of us up because we
Yep.
don't know what you're actually trying to advocate for.
Okay, so
Is it
I agree.
anti-government? Is
Okay,
it
I agree.
pro-government? Is it
Okay,
pro?
I agree
Just
with constitutionalism. agree with like the U.S. federalism framework that you have certain responsibilities for the feds and certain responsibilities for the states. I agree with that. But like, I also agree with like Jeffersonian secularism, where it's not laissez and it's not like a UK where it's the government with mixing with religion. We have federal Jeffersonian secularism, which is like you. There's a wall between the government and beliefs, and
yeah,
you could express your religiosity or
separation
your
of church and state.
spirituality or irreligiosity, but you can't enact those things into legislative practice or judicial practice.
Yeah, it's called
If that makes sense.
separation of church and state.
N-
That's
It's
exactly what that
different.
is.
It's different. Let's just say that.
Basically, you're not making laws based on religious
No, because
beliefs.
Lysette is very different. It's much more like it's a negative version of secularism, and then the positive form of secularism would be like what you have in the UK, India, Russia, where like the government doesn't have a say, but it has a place for religion to have a say, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. So I'm not for that, and I'm not I'm not for that. Oh, okay. How do I explain this? I'm trying to work within the framework we have in America. Okay, so like think of it like Bernie Sanders. Like he's trying to introduce a leftist understanding, but he's not gonna go like haymaker Marxist. He doesn't believe that. He's a sock dem. So like I'm trying to like.
I I'm pretty sure that Bernie Sanders is a socialist, like through and through.
Well, not Marxist, but like yeah.
I think he's been pretty consistent over the years. Like, he's not gonna come out and say, "Yeah, I'm a Marxist," because
As
like
far as any politician in the U.S.,
yeah,
definitely.
it's political
Yeah,
suicide.
but the point is, like, I'm not gonna like throw like the first heaviest Marxist policy into our government. Like, I'm trying to
Why
use
not?
American themes and use those themes to go left.
I mean,
Does that make sense
I'm a
here?
market socialist, and I can make pretty good arguments for like every position to transition us into a socialist state.
Like, I'm sorry, I just don't really have a like. I agree with leftism as a general concept,
Mhm.
but like at the end of the day, for me, I'm just Muslim.
Yeah.
I center most of my life about through Islam, and so Bengali, like the Desi culture, Islam. That's like the I guess one or two, and then three would be this politics thing. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm
at the
sorry
end of
if
the
I
day,
am a
Oh,
disappointment,
at
guys.
the end of the
I
day,
just
you're also from New Jersey. You're also American. You know, you're not your
well,
religion. You're
I
American.
mean,
but
the
look,
people would say otherwise, but
look,
whatever.
it's okay. It's okay if that's how you're prioritizing your identity. I would just encourage you to figure out that third order definition of what you want to advocate for
As
and the kind of world you want to build, because that will
Hey,
that will
Taz,
help
so-
Here's the
everyone. It
problem.
will help
I
you
don't mind
immensely.
different ideas of leftism. Like you have your
Taz, what
Marxists,
country
your
would you say has the best system currently in place, if it's not the U.S.?
um.
Do you think Bangladesh is good? Is a good
I don't think I would be alive for that best system. I think I want to lay down some type of foundation for others to
Yeah.
build on.
So, what country right
Okay.
now do you say is
There is no
currently
country right
practicing?
now because
Yeah.
we're in the worst timeline. So that's the
I,
problem.
no, we're in the best timeline, dude.
We're in the
And
worst
not
timeline.
dude. I didn't
So
mean that
you
in like a
think the
sexist
you
way or
think
anything.
that
Horse
you
terrorist group,
the
so
you think the world would be better off without the United States?
no, the decisions that we've made in the United States should not have been made. That's all.
I just,
gonna say.
okay. This is the problem. Like whatever you're saying, like nobody cares. If you can believe whatever you want, this is America. Just don't bring up the burn it down thing.
Or
Like
if
I
you are
mean,
gonna
that
bring
just
up
makes
the
you sound.
if you are gonna bring up the burn it down thing, like have a coherent
why.
political philosophy behind it.
Say
Because-
why.
I mean, but this is the problem. Like, I don't think I have like this so-called coherent, like.
Right. That's why I'm telling you should probably try and get one, because like it's going to
No,
help.
because
It's
like,
going to
then
help
all of a
you
sudden I have to
articulate what you
supposedly
want.
like side with like this political groupie thing. It's like no, like I agree with leftism as a general concept. I don't think anarchy is workable in the United
But
States.
the issue
We
is when you come into a forum to advocate for your position, it becomes really, really hard to advocate for your position because you don't know what your position actually
Like,
is,
no,
aside
so
from generally supporting leftism.
So like I agree with like you need for America at least you need a state system status, right? You have states and these states have to have roles that are not centralized to the federal government. It has to be like the feds have certain roles and the states have certain roles. Like I agree with that concept, like US federalism concept. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So you have dual federalism where like the feds pick and choose states, or you have cooperative federalism where the states opt into the federal roles and all that stuff.
Yo, that shirt is hilarious. Revolt Rise.
If does that help? I don't know if it's helping.
Well, it helps a little bit, but I would say like
Because
when
like
you're
I'm
because
not,
right
I'm
now
not,
you're
I'm
looking
not
at
for socialism or like Marxism, but like I wouldn't mind working that side because like I guess you could say there is history that where
Yeah.
my parents came from. Like I could be like, okay, I'm cool with that because the capitalists that happen to be in South Asia,
Mhm.
the Muslim League or the right wing in India, the RSS, they basically commit genocide. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that's why Bangladesh is no longer part of Pakistan because Pakistan's like capitalists were like, screw you. We don't care. And remember, I think it was 1970 or 71. The guy who was in power, he was a leftist in Pakistan, but he didn't really win the election. The guy who founded Bangladesh, he did.
Are
And so
you an
it's
immigrant?
no, I'm born in America. It's just like living in New Jersey in my area. I was not really around my kind per se,
So,
and
is
like the people
Bangladesh
who
better
were
off than New Jersey is today?
I mean, New Jersey is pretty okay. It's just red states
Okay.
try to use our taxes to subsidize their markets instead of us getting our investment back.
It seems
So
like you
that's the
agree
problem.
with a little bit of capitalism then.
Well,
Well, no,
That's
it's
better
not
off.
about capitalism. It's about the fact that, like, let's say the
Well, you were
South
just saying
has.
Pakistan is capitalist versus
So
Bangladesh is
no.
socialist.
Hold a minute, hold a minute. So the South will like have a disaster, and Pasquale will vote for helping the South. But then when we have a hurricane or there's a shooting, it's like screw you, New Jersey. We're not sending any aid, and then we have to increase our state taxes
Property
to
taxes.
cover up the missing federal money. So it's like that the Congress will not give. So it's like you have to understand, like as
Is
a
that Chris
Yankee,
Christie that
I
you're
don't give a
referencing there?
fuck about the red states because they don't really care about like the Republicans and the Democrats in the North. So
I
it's like
guess so.
The
My
red states do
question,
care.
my question, sorry, my question would be, you should look for the answer to, if you were put in charge, what kind of a society would you build? Because I think right now you have this whole mishmash of ideas that you agree with, and I think that if you come to the answer of like, well, this is the kind of society I would like to
You can
live
take the
in,
8 values test. Just take the 8 values test and see
yeah,
where you
I
land.
mean, okay, so most of the tests I took in, they say I'm socially conservative but leaning to leftism. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
yeah,
just try to take the 8 values test, man.
I think that's like a
Could give you.
right.
like
And then like on the map, the political map thingy, there's like this green map. It's in the green map zone. I'm like one beneath the
yeah.
thing line. What is it called?
Well, so I like it. Taking a test isn't necessarily going to help you if you don't understand like the different like outcomes of that test. So I would
So
just
okay, so
I would
so you have libertarian on the bottom right, and then left on the left side, economic left.
I
We don't have to
Oh,
do this.
yeah
You can go on the
on the
website.
political compass, it says like wait, one, two,
I would
three,
just say
four.
I would say
Just do it.
pursue what you're interested in and what you think would work better. Go down the YouTube rabbit hole. Like
Yeah. Taz, I linked.
Look up Professor Richard Wolff. You seem to be inclined towards leftism. Richard Wolff has some pretty based leftist economic takes. If you're interested in that kind of
I
stuff,
linked you a thing in that Discord.
Yeah,
But
man.
the socially
Just Google.
conservative part of you, I mean, that's pretty
Just,
based, right?
just Google
no.
I
eight
mean, like
values.
you had okay. Listen, like
Google
here's the
the
thing. Like I'm not really interested in like what do they call it?
to
Like
creating change,
political.
to grouping
Labels.
together with people
Yeah,
that have
like
similar
Labels.
ideas.
Yeah.
to me, it's about policy and like I see
Absolutely. Yeah.
injustice
Right.
But you
and
can
like
see if you have a label of what you know you are, you can seek out those politicians
Or
that sort of
thinkers.
oh yeah, I
align with
mean
that
like listen, the Justice
same sort of
Dems.
ideology.
So like we have the Justice Dem. We have I think one seat in local office for one of the counties in New Jersey, but like in terms of like higher office,
It-
like
it's
there is no one at the moment. So
it,
I have to work with Pasquale. You know what I mean? Bill Pasquale
you
and
take you take the eight values test. It'll tell you where you politically align. You Google that, you see that, and then you could attribute that to wherever you live, and you could look up the stuff that's happening in the state that you live that
bro,
fits
like
that, and then you'll have an easier time looking for the
Tiger, kill them
policies.
all.
Democratic Party is literally the mafia in New Jersey. Like
It doesn't
it,
matter because you've already accepted the fact that you're just going to be a voter, and that's all you want to contribute for the rest of your life. So as
well,
a
no,
voter,
I
it's in
mean
your
I
best
donated money to grassroots organizations, all that stuff. But
the
like
best it's in your best interest to at least look at the policies that align with what you want to push, and then just advocate for that stuff, and then that's it. That's
Yeah,
all
there's
that's
no
being asked
candidate
of
that's
you.
gonna have everything that you want. I'm just gonna tell you
Yep.
straight away.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And when you come around with the burn it down stuff, it's just like that's just not the way to go about things. I have no other way to put that.
Well,
Like
no,
I,
because you're taking this out of context right now. Again, once again, the reason why I said that was if we're not going to deal with foreign policy, which I don't think Americans will ever deal with, we have to at least work with what we have. And
What
I
does it
think
mean for
domestically,
Americans to deal with foreign
Yes,
policy in your mind?
exactly. Thank you.
okay, so like the way we approach South America, the way we approach our territories, the way we approach indigenous people, their reservations, the Middle East, they're like they're all it's all basically like a hole that most Americans will never like acknowledge as a society have allowed their government to like dig ourselves into, where like in order for us to get an out, we can't have a win. We actually have to admit that we were wrong, and we
I
like
admit we fucked up big time in the
we
fucking
let some type
Central
of
America.
autonomy for these regions to self-determine their whatever. Because right now, we want to lose and have a win. It's like no, like
But
we can't be
what
the
is it?
losers and have a winning policy, and like leave
So,
a war saying,
as,
"Oh, we got the
so
terrorists to do."
as a
No,
citizen of the United States, the things that bother you the most are in terms of foreign policy
yeah.
and the positions of people who are citizens of other nations.
Uh, I mean, the second part I don't understand. I just know that I just don't like our foreign policy.
Oh, okay. So
You need to. Oh, go ahead.
the thing is, so if you have a coherent political philosophy, you can explain, for example, why you'd like to burn down the state. There are many people who can articulate that sort of position. Whether or not you agree with it, that's up to other people.
When I say state, I don't. Okay,
But
it's just a way to exert
I
my
know. Please
stress. I don't
please let
mean
me
it
talk,
like.
please. So
I'm sorry.
it's fine. The issue is that I'm not entirely sure, even after asking you like what you think it means for like the United States citizens to like be taking responsibility for foreign policy. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. Do you mean that more people in the United States should vote based on the foreign policy positions of the candidates for president? Like, is that what you mean?
I think we need, at the federal level, we need to be aware of who we're voting for. That is going to engage with like treaties and like
But
policy
some people
decisions
vote for
at the White
more
House and in the Congress.
nationalism. There's some people that vote based on nationalism, right? They want more. They're more American centrist, whereas what you're saying is people need to vote more for foreign like ideologies, right? That's what it sounds like to
Um,
me.
the, the, because
There's a
like the
lot of
thing
people in
is, when I
America
hear
that are.
nationalist, I think Republican, right? And I want to take back that word and make it more leftist. You know what I mean? Like our
That's
nationalism is more leftist than.
the whole political ideology in general in America has been moving further and further left, and I
Oh,
think as
Like I don't like
what I mean, like, are you
I would say
disagreeing? I
more and
mean,
more
it's
further from the center. That's probably better.
I say that I would say that
Why?
largely the discourse in the United States has been moving steadily towards the right for a little while.
uh,
There's a window of opportunity here for us to change the course of that narrative with a Biden win, but I legitimately think that we are at the precipice of electing either a fascist or a milquetoast neolib, and I know which state I would like to live in, and it's not the fascist one.
oh, fascism.
Fascism.
Well,
that's the
here's the
thing,
thing.
like,
When I say fascism, because I know what it means and I know what the definitions of it are, I'm not saying Orange Man bad. I'm saying he's a fascist and that's bad.
Like a real